Hello, beautiful people. My name is Rochelle Innocent, and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we actually have a thought piece ready to drop this upcoming Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like our conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental health. And on the conversation of mental health, we're continuing the conversation. We already kicked this week off with a part 1 series and building a baseline for confidence, and we're continuing that conversation here in this video today. So if you haven't checked out the first video, I do invite you to check it out. I'm here to continue on providing you my periphery on some of the building blocks that helps to establish a really strong, well-rooted, grounded foundation in confidence. And so as we kick things off, I just want you to know that I've not always been confident. I used to be really, though willful, though vocal and opinionated, my confidence used to be really shaky because it really was dependent on external validation and getting the approval of others. And when I didn't have that approval, it would really leave me feeling really hurt and broken. But then I realized along the way that sometimes the right thing for me, or following my own personal truth, meant I wasn't going to get approval. When you recognize, you start to really understand that the value of your worth and your contribution comes from within. It comes from you yourself, and it's important to build your sense of growing confidence on that growing understanding of who you are and what it is that you aim to bring to the world around you, and less about the voices of others, because frankly, when it comes to the opinions of other people, that's really very impressionable, is subject to change, and it cannot be something that you are reliant on if you want to make a big impact, right? If you want to be a big impact, you really need to be very focused and grounded in what it is that you believe in, regardless of whether or not that belief is popular opinion or not. So that obviously is the caveat to the first point that we're talking about today, and that point is walking and standing alone. I think it takes a lot of confidence to stay rooted in your truth when there's no one standing with you. And this can be in a various amount of different settings and contexts. That sometimes there are beliefs that we take where we end up walking and standing alone, actions that we take, circumstances we take that can leave us feeling isolated or being isolated really by others or ostracized to a certain extent. But if you're confident that what it is that you believe in is so truly profound that it warrants the losses that you're experiencing in your life, then let that be a badge of honor to you. And for me, I am someone, the things that I believe to be true enough that I'm speaking about them, I'm comfortable walking alone as a result of those truths. And I may or may not outgrow those truths in the future. And if at that point that changes the effects of, my environment, then fine. But I have already made my peace with walking and standing alone. It is not a punishment. It couldn't be a punishment because I adore and love my own company. But I think that confident people can do it without it breaking them, right? So I think that if you do find yourself alone and you feel penalized in your solitude, you need to learn to find peace with yourself, right? You need to learn to be comfortable in your own skin and become your own friend, right? So I think that even when you're alone, you don't need to be without company. You can find great peace and great happiness in the company of yourself, especially if you're finding yourself in an environment where your beliefs don't align, the actions that you're taking don't align, and your circumstances just don't align with the kind of, people that you maybe would or wouldn't interact with. So I think it's very, very important as a rule of thumb in establishing confidence is being comfortable or actually building some sort of a framework to allow yourself to become comfortable walking and standing alone. Very, very important. Another area that I think has really helped me and supported me in building my confidence is doing the things that scare me. And these are not just anything that scares you. I mean, there are certain things that scare me that I'm not willing or have no desire to do. So doing the things that you desire to do that scare you, that's the important caveat there. So for me, like the things that scare me that I have no intention of doing in the near or far future, like horror movies, those things scare me, and I don't think I'm gonna be doing myself any favors. I'm not building my confidence by any means by watching a scary movie, right? But like if it was moving across the country, living in a different country, rebuilding my life, those are things that are scary, right? It's very scary to rebuild your life from scratch in a culture that is different and a lot of settings and situations that are very different and very unfamiliar. And I think that doing that, it scares you, but it builds confidence, right? It builds confidence in your ability to navigate and to push through or to find alignment in an environment that really is a better reflection of you or of the path that you see yourself growing towards. So I think that doing the things that scare you, that you really desire on doing, it builds confidence. This YouTube channel, I am telling you, the first video, I was so scared. I was so nervous, and I know I was rambling, and I think for the first few videos I was rambling as well, but I was so excited because I have always wanted to have my own YouTube channel, right? And it was something I was afraid to say out loud because it's an unconventional endeavor for the career path that I was on, but I've always wanted to have a platform to communicate my thoughts and my ideas. And now the YouTube channel has grown into a podcast channel. I also have my own website, and all of that was very scary when I was conceptualizing it. And I was realizing that in my personal life, like this is what I wanted to build. This is where I wanted my time and energy to go while still figuring out my career path, which is different, and I demarcate the two. And I think right now I'm building a strong foundation that encompasses both, right? Like I have a career that I love. I have Project Purpose, which I love. I love whether she's growing and evolving. Being where I am now involves a lot of really scary decisions. I think having done it, having done the thing that is scary, done the thing that, people really thought I was going to fall on my face, and even falling on my face, there have been many opportunities of open ridicule, I'm sure, in my endeavor to do the things that I desire, because I really didn't have the expertise or the know-how. I didn't necessarily have guidance, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to navigate it. And I find that being able to shrug off public ridicule also builds confidence, right? So I've mentioned in a few videos, like I have been the subject of a lot of gossip and rumor mongering in my day, and now I just laugh it off. I'm very indifferent to it, and I know that there's a point where I've built out a bit of a framework where I have to respond to it because it's getting too much, but I'm personally indifferent to it. So I respond out of a need. I recognize that there's a need to provide a true narrative. If I see that there's too many false narratives taking place, and I'll do my best to do that in a strategic way. But personally speaking, like I think public ridicule, gossip, rumors, I have so many things that I'm putting my time and energy into. Like my thoughts are really going towards the things that I'm building and the things that I love doing, the things that I love putting my energy towards, that oftentimes I really do devalue politics, and I would much rather change the setting, change the environment than address the politics. I'm someone who firmly believes that great minds talk about ideas and small minds talk about people. And I think that people who really make their bread and butter about talking about other people, like I don't want to be in that camp. And when I am the subject of conversation, I know that there are moments where I have to interject myself to defend myself, because I think that when people don't have the opportunity to allow me the privilege of putting my best foot forward and showing them that there's something false with some of what's been going on, then I need to at least do myself the service of presenting myself the best way possible. But it's hard. That's hard because I'm fairly indifferent when it comes to open ridicule or public defamation. I think I've dealt with it so much that I think I see it as just a spiritual cleansing. It's like a spiritual fire. And I think that oftentimes when we are in the throes of having our character assassinated or being defamed or having rumors go on about us, we think it's the end of the world. But I think it's just an ending. It's an ending, and I think it's a rites of passage to growth. It shows that you're outgrowing your circles, right? And I think when it comes to these kinds of situations, when you see that people are really struggling to form accurate opinions of you, I would see it now as an opportunity to see like who comes with me in the next stage of my life and who stays behind. And I don't see it as like the end of the world. I mean, there were times in my life where some gossip came about or a rumor came about, and I was just so horrified that someone could say such ugly things about me that I would be emotional and very upset about it. Learned that the people who buy into that, especially the people who are very quick to buy into a lot of the narratives without fact checking, without asking you, those are the people who are signaling to you like, I don't belong in the next stage and phase of your life, right? And they're also signaling to you, I was not in your life for the right reasons. I didn't have the right motivations. People who are really for you are for you through and through, right? And when they hear rumors, they ask. They want to get it from the horse's mouth before they believe it. And those are the kind of people that, like, for me are like worth putting my time and my energy into. But the people who are just like very quick to just take on the first thing that's being said, I don't have the time nor the consideration for that. But then I know like there needs to be a bit of a balance. There needs to be some degree of moderation. So I think there's confidence that gets built when you don't allow yourself to be personally torn down, spiritually torn down by the words and by the narratives, and instead recognize that those narratives, those words are telling you that there's a shift in the tide, and that is a signal of growth. A new chapter is on the horizon, and it's telling you who comes and who stays in this old chapter as well. So I think having the confidence to walk alone, not being afraid that I will end up alone without people in a certain stage or phase of my life, I think that it comes as a breath of fresh air if that solitude is a byproduct of me having clarity on who was actually in my corner for the right reasons and who wasn't. It's not a punishment by any means, and I hope that that is something that I've communicated to you in this. I think I've sidebarred quite a bit. I think I went a bit on this little tangent that I had, but walking and standing alone is super critical, is super important. Being able to do that, to build a strong foundation of confidence, especially in turbulent times. If you're going through a turbulent season, that's a season that's signaling to you to stand tall in solitude. Like if it requires solitude, then in solitude. If it means that you have one or two friends who stick by you, I mean, that's awesome. Not all of us get like the one or two friends to stick by us in those turbulent waters or those turbulent times, but I think it is a signal of growth. It is a signal of a chapter closing, which also means that there's a chapter opening. This is always a good news story. And so my last point that I wanted to talk about this is embracing growth and being unapologetic about who you're becoming, and being unapologetic about your truth. And I think that this is so important because a lot of people assume that their ways of seeing the world is the right way, right? And I was raised in a very rigid, very orthodox, very religious household where there was one right way of doing things, and you sort of pitied people who saw things differently, right? You didn't really mean to pity them. You didn't really mean to look at them like in a adverse way. But I think that when you're so sure that your truth is right, then you start to really wonder how someone couldn't see things the same. And I think as I grew, as I really pushed the needle on my own growth, I started to recognize that there's a lot of things that we can be so confident in that just don't end up being true, right? And I think for the obvious things, there's Santa Claus isn't true, Tooth Fairy isn't true. There's a lot of fantasies that we grew up believing that we were okay to shed when we recognized that they weren't true. I mean, maybe we cried a couple tears, but we were okay with it. But I think there are also truths that we maybe internalize as fundamental truths that as we navigate life, as we meet different people, those people represent a true challenge to those truths. And I think that for those of us who are always trying to maintain a sense of inner clarity, we recognize when we meet someone, the reason why they've been put on our path is because they bring a real conflict to a truth that we have been holding on to. And so for me, I'm comfortable shedding truths if it means giving myself the opportunity to grow. And as a byproduct of that, I've taken on a fairly subjective view of truth. Like, I am someone who believes that truth is subjective to where you are on your journey, where you are in your maturity based on the experiences that you've had. And hopefully there's alignment. You can find people who are like-minded to a certain extent, but I am not someone who feels beholden to the truths that I carry now. I'm completely comfortable if in 10 years from now I, have a completely different way of seeing and viewing the world around me, and I abide by different truths, because I see that the truths that I had when I was 10 are different from the truths that I had when I was 20, different from the truths that I carried at 30. And I think that cycle is just going to continue on growing and evolving, and I'm comfortable with that, and I'm also unapologetic about it. I think sometimes people typecast you as with the truths that you carry. I said, if there's anything like that is fundamentally true about me, is that I don't like to be categorized or subclassified or typecasted. And for those who typecast people because of the truths that they hold, I mean, I'm a very slippery fish in that, because the truths that I carry now are in alignment with where I am on my growth journey now. But if my growth journey takes me into a different path, I'm completely open to what truths are available for me to sort of reconcile my current truths with. And if that changes my current truths, then I'm okay with that. Now, I think that there are certain fundamental truths that have carried through from childhood until now that I'm fairly certain are not necessarily going to change, but there's a lot of life that I haven't had yet. So if it does change, that's okay. And I'm unapologetic about it. So if at some point I meet someone who is like, well, this is what you believed in then, well, yeah, that was then, this is now, right? There's no need for me to apologize for having a change in opinion or having a different perspective. And I think that builds a lot of confidence, because a lot of people try to knock you off your game when they call you out on being different or having different beliefs or navigating in a different way from what they were accustomed to. And that may be a projection or a signal of them still being in that place that they could have stagnated if they still see things a certain way, or if they still assume that despite so many years and time that has passed that you still see the world the same way. But like, a lot of us are growing, right? Like, actively pursuing self-discovery, pursuing growth. So we're actively seeking opportunities to shed different truths if those truths end up being limiting, right? Like, no one wants to be the reason why they carry limiting beliefs longer than what is necessary. And I think that being unapologetic about your truth, however it shifts and changes, is an opportunity to not allow people to break you down because of the truths that you once carried. I think that that's so important. In any case, that was the topic for today, part 2 of our series on confidence. And if you haven't seen part 1, I do invite you to join that conversation. I'll provide you a link somewhere here on the screen. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops, largely focused on self-mastery over and above those events. So hopefully we have something that is of interest. Hopefully you give us the opportunity to play a small role in your journey, becoming the hashtag game changer we know that you can be. In any case, we're on the road to 1K. Definitely be sure to follow us here on our YouTube channel, across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.